Hello and welcome back to Tales from the Car. This is your host Joshua speaking. Tonight we're recording episode 28. It's going to be called The Worst Job I Ever Had, Part 3, The Shopette. And I kind of feel bad calling it that, but I think it earns that title. And I'll get into why in here in a few minutes. Before we get into all that, though, let's get the show notes out of the way. As always, if you're hearing this, you know exactly how to find us. Are available on all major podcast platforms, and if you can, spread the word. Share the show, like and subscribe if you're not. Follow the show if you're not already doing so. Still looks like we have a lot of listeners and downloads, but we don't have nearly as many subscribers and followers. So please like, follow, share, and subscribe, man. I really appreciate it. And what else? If you want to contact the show, you do so one of two ways. You can join the Facebook group at Tales from the Car Podcast, or you can email the show at mrpogo1972@gmail.com. And if there's any comments, criticisms, complaints, any show ideas, let us know. And we even read some, or get some emails. I actually read some on the air, but. What else is going on? Let's see, we got, if you want to donate to the show, you can do so at buymeacoffee.com/MrPogo1972 and then letter B, help out with my coffee addiction. And I changed around the pricing on that, and you can actually donate to the show if you want to for as little as $2. Anything would help, man. I'd really appreciate it if you wanted to. And what else am I forgetting? There's also, shout out to Joe at ElitePodcast.net for the show art, and KJ's Gutters for doing a listener survey and giving us some help here. Also, we saw the listener survey. That's another thing too going on. Link for it will be down in the show notes. If you'd like to do the survey, let us know a little about yourselves, what you like about the show, and dislike even. And you got anything you'd like to shout out on the show, any kind of business or band, any kind of music you do, stuff like that. No religion or politics. We'll be happy to do it. And I think that's about it. So I'll pause this right here, and I'll be back in a minute to start the show. Hang on. Hey everybody, we're back. And I said tonight we're discussing the worst job I ever had, part 3 of the Shopette. So you're probably wondering, what is the Shopette? Well, on the military base here, I don't know if it's the same everywhere. The Shopette is basically like a little, and actually it's not even that little. They have smaller ones. The one I looked at was a pretty good sized convenience store, and they pretty much had everything in there. It had a Popeyes attached to it. It had some kind of a car care shop on the other side. Had a quite an expansive cooler, beer section. They actually had kegs in there. They actually had they even sold they even had liquor. They had a little little liquor section in there and stuff. I think the interesting thing about working there was you can buy anything but cigarettes or alcohol for some reason. I forget what the exact reasoning is. If you're a civilian, you can't buy cigarettes or alcohol on base, but otherwise you can do whatever you wanted to. Within reason, I guess, you know what I mean? You can, shopping at some of the stores you could or couldn't do. I mean, it's kind of interesting thing. If you, actually, I shouldn't say that. Actually, if you were on base, as a regular civilian, you're not going to be able to shop in the stores. But if you have a military ID, or if you work for the DOJ, which, no, the DOD, not the DOJ, the Department of Defense, which technically you're working for, I guess, it's all under that umbrella. You can go in the stores and shop and eat at the different restaurants on the base. I mean, like if you go to like the Burger King or something like that, they probably won't give you any shit for it, but some other stuff they might. The Popeyes doesn't care either. Anyway. So that's what I was doing. And ironically, this is the job I landed at after I worked at what was, if you go back and listen to the worst job I ever had, part 1, which was, I believe, the first mini episode I ever did way, way back when I first started this podcast. That's the job I found after I stopped working there. And it was in between that and the bank I worked for, which I'll have to do an episode on one day, because that's a pretty fucked up story. But, so anyways, let's get into this. You know, and I said at the beginning, or I don't know if I did or not, but I almost feel bad about calling this the worst job I ever had. It actually wasn't that bad. But this job, like so many others, the management was really what put it over the top as just a real shit show. So I started there, I think it was like May of 2010. That sounds about right. Like a couple weeks after I got fired and told the guy at the Valero to go fuck himself, who never called me back. You know, they kept calling me every time that guy went crazy and like tried to put his head through the window. Listen to the episode. Listen to the mini episode number 1 for more details on this. Like, I'm not making that up. So the job, I mean, like, it's a regular convenience store job. I mean, like, it kind of sucks, but it really didn't suck that bad. I mean, the people I worked with were pretty cool. I mean, when you work a place like that, there's a lot of like ex-military or family of military. So like the only downside is like they get first priority, which makes sense. I'm not, shitting on this, but they get first priority like for, more hours or, promotions, stuff like that. And, but overall, most of the people were pretty decent. Like, there was the girl, actually my favorite was the girl who I found out later was from Germany, but it sounded like, I swear, it's hard to explain. If you're a Northeast person, you'll kind of understand this, but she talked like she was from like Brooklyn or something. I was like, what? Like, she had really good English, but the accent she developed somehow, like, I don't know if they lived in New York or something. I don't even know, but they had a really interesting accent where it was like, oh my God, like, you sound like you're from Brooklyn, like, you're from Germany. And she's like, yeah, I married a guy in the U.S. military, and I don't know how long she'd been in the States at that point, but she'd been there for a while. And I think her name was Angela. That sounds right. I could be wrong. Oh my God, I forget most of people's names. And but she was really cool. There was Angela, there was Paula. Paula was really cool because, I don't know, she was like me, was like one of the few people that worked there that wasn't like a kid or whatever, that actually had like some kind of, clue about the real world. So she was really cool. And Tony, and then there was a girl from New York, actually, from upstate New York. I can't remember what the hell her name was, a little black girl. Shit, I can't remember people's names. It's been like 15 years, so I don't know, man. It's hard to recall this shit. I'm usually terrible at people's names anyway. I usually get that shit wrong or forget them. But in the management, there was, I can't remember the lady's name that ran the place. There was an older lady that was like her second in command or whatever you want to call it, and she was a real sweetheart. Like, she's the one I actually like did the interview with and was always really nice to the employees. And then there was a young guy, Chris, I believe his name was, and he was funny as hell, and he was really good to work with. And I forget the other guy's name, but it's like, I remember the one night I was getting like the shitty parts of this stuff, because I saw the one night he pulled the cash drawers. We weren't even like really closed yet. We were still in for 10 minutes. He pulled my cash drawer, did not tell me. And then I rang up a guy and I hit the button. The guy gave me, like a $20 bill. And I'm like, oh, fuck. I'm like, I don't have any money in my drawer. I was like, oh, shit. I was like, no one's like, he should have said something. Like, I had, like, I can't do this. And then that kind of screws things up, too, in the system. Because once they pull the drawer and stuff like that, you're not supposed to, ring anything up. Well, that's not my fault. And the guy was, like, yelling at me. And I'm like, dude, why didn't you tell me? You know what I mean? I was like, I forget what I was doing at the time. Like, it wasn't like I was hidden, I don't know. This could have been avoided. That's all I'm going to say. But the guy's kind of a fucking asshole. And there was Teresa, who was the other manager, who most of my conflicts seemed to center around, and she was just miserable to everybody. This older lady, and her husband was like, he was diagnosed and like, slowly dying of cancer. He was in really bad shape. And so I understand, like, she's kind of miserable, and that whole situation sucks, right? But then, you take it out on everybody that has to fucking work with you. It's like, that's not really fair. Everybody else to put up with your fucking bullshit. And I forgot the lady's name in the back was, the boss, whatever. But let's get into that. So, like, most people there were cool. And me and Tony actually became kind of friendly after this. Before, at first, like, him and I didn't get along. And then he seemed to be, like, actively trying to get me fired. I could not even tell you why. I don't even know. Like, I remember the one day I went in there, and, they always say to you, like, oh, you should, find stuff to do. Don't make us tell you to do stuff, or, shit like that. So you'd go around, like, straightening up stuff or whatever. And, the one day I was just like, well, nobody's doing the cooler. And that was a very, very busy store. Of course it is. It's on a military base. And it's right by the entrance / exit of the base. Like, it's, you're going out, towards the same gate or whatever, right? It's like the main gate of the fucking place. And it's like I said, the place is huge. It has a big ass gas station and everything, right? And so, and that was another thing too. That was really funny. It was like, technically you can get gas on base, right? But if you weren't military, sometimes the military people get pissed off. Like, and I was just like, why? Like, what the fuck does it matter? Like, that part I never really got. Like, sometimes you get shit from people for filling your tank up with some gas. And it's like, what's the difference? Like, it's, like, that made less sense than the fucking beer and alcohol. But there's some kind of, I don't know, some kind of, like, reasoning behind it, whether it's stupid or not. But so anyway, so the one day, someone would have to do the cooler in the beginning and just straighten up and, like, stock it up, because it would be busy I guess it was busy all day. And the place closed at like 9 o'clock, which was really great. I mean, like, that was one of the better things about it. It's like, you'd be out of there, and I'd be out of there and home by like 9:30 every night I worked there. And the one night, I remember, like, this is how ridiculous the job was. Like, the one day I was in the cooler, and I'm just, because again, they say, oh, just take initiative, that kind of shit. Although, not that it really got you anywhere, but at least it'd keep them from fucking yelling at you about dumb shit, right? So I go back in the cooler, and I'm, like, straightening it up, like, putting up shit, whatever I can. And one of the managers, it probably was Teresa, like, came in there, like, what are you doing? I'm like, it's just a really shitty tone. Maybe, it was a really shitty tone. Like, what are you doing? I was like, oh, I'm stocking the cooler. Like, nobody was doing that, so I just, I said, just stand with my thumb on my ass. I went and stocked the cooler. Oh, you're not supposed to do that. I told Tony he could do that, and blah, blah, blah. I'm like, well, I didn't know it was anybody's specific job, and they had to, like, get special permission to do the job. That was just something everybody did. Like, I didn't know it was like, I was taking away somebody's fucking work. I mean, we all got paid the same, no matter what you fucking did. Just so fucking stupid. And that was also, Teresa was also the one time, like, if you, the shifts weren't long, all right? I guess, I don't know, it's hard to explain like how it is to work on the base. Like if you work part-time, like you really will work part-time. Like you're not going to get more than like 25 hours a week. They tell you that right up front. Sometimes they'll give you more actually. But I mean, like if they took it, if they decide like they hire somebody, let's say they're short staffed that needs a few extra hours a week, right? You might pick up some extra day, or instead of working like 5 hours one day, you might work like 7 or 8, stuff like that. But like generally, you work like 25 hours. That's literally all they'll give you. Now, full time. What was considered full time on the base was like, I think it was like 30 hours. And I mean, but you can get like 35 if you have the right. I don't even know. Like it's hard to explain, but I swear to God, it's a great part-time job. Is literally what it is. You'll work 5 hours a day in the evening or in the morning. You know, you'll never be home be there past like 9:30. It wasn't that terrible. You know what I mean? Like the people over there were actually pretty pleasant. You know, again, the people I work with are cool. It's the fucking managers. And, but so like if you worked, I think it was like 6 hours, like you got a 30-minute break. But if you worked, you know, like 4 or 5 hours, you get a 15-minute break. Sorry, I'm yawning. And then make sure you took it or whatever. You did not have to clock out for the 15-minute break, so I mean, it didn't matter. But I mean, it was nice to have it because you'd be able to sit down and, you know, they would actually give it to you someplace. Oh yeah, we'll give you 15-minute breaks, and they're like, "What the fuck you mean? You can't sit down. You can't take 15-minute breaks. What are you, insane?" You know what I mean? Like, so on a 15-minute break, you know, they sold. Now they're probably like $5 a piece or some shit. But you know, back like 15 years ago, you used to be able to get like these little like really cheap like microwave meals, be like $1 a piece. They were $1 a piece at the store, and there's maybe $1.50 like a regular grocery store. And you know, basically in like 3 minutes, you know, you got a little meal or whatever. It wasn't, you know, it is what it is kind of thing. You know what I mean? Like you weren't gonna. It would keep you hungry. If you're hungry, like you weren't gonna starve. So I usually bought a couple of those and heated them up and ate them on my meal, which I could do, you know, in the parameters of the 15 minutes. I'd buy them, heat them up and eat them, and be back at the floor in 15 minutes. It wouldn't like hold me up or anything. But the one day I'm doing that, I was buying them, and Teresa comes up to me. She's like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, and she's all like in a frantic like panic. Like I'm not even shitting. I'm like, "What do you mean? What am I doing?" Like I'm buying, you know, these meals so I can eat. I'm hungry. You can't eat on your 15-minute break. I'm like, what? Are you like, wait, what? Like, what do you mean I can't eat on my 15-minute? You're not supposed to eat on your 15-minute. You can only eat on your 30-minute. Like, what are you talking about? You're telling me I can't. You're telling me what I can and can't do on my 15-minute break. Like, what kind of bullshit is that? Like, I was just like, that doesn't make any sense. I just ignored her, and I never not ate on my break if I was hungry. I was just like, if you want to fire me or write me up for some fucking shit like that, like, go ahead. I'm like, you're absolutely ridiculous. And so that just starts it. So the one day, and actually, like I said earlier, me and Tony like didn't get along. So like, he seemed to be trying to get me fired. So like, the one girl was like, "Hey, you know, you need to call up and talk to the head manager." I forget what her name was. Mallory, I think it was. Oh my God, that just hit me. Like Mallory, call Mallory and talk to her, like, because like this is like they're gonna get you fired because. She's like, I know you fucking do your job, like, but so I know they convince everybody you don't, and they're trying to get you fired. So I was like, what the fuck? And I could see what was going on too. And she's like, yeah, you can call up and talk to her, you know, blah blah blah. Like, all right. So like the next day, I was off of work, and I call up, and I was like, hey, can I talk to Mallory? Like, oh yeah, is this Josh? Oh yeah. Hang on a second. I think it was that nice little lady that hired me. And I wish I could remember her name. We'll call, I don't know. I don't think her name, but anyway, she was the little lady with glasses, real sweet. And, so yeah, Josh, hang on. So, Mallory, I guess, was on the sales floor, because the phone rang, I could tell, but we could hear in the background, like, on the sales floor. So, she hands the phone, And she's like, hello? Like, hey, I started, hey, Josh, up. And I started explaining to her. All of a sudden, she throws the phone down. And actually, this all inspired by a Facebook post, because several days ago, I wrote a Facebook post about this at the time it happened, and it came up in my memories. And she throws the phone down, and she's like, and she goes, you need to talk to him. I hear this in the background. She's loud. You need to talk to him. I'm not talking to him. Doesn't he know the protocol? Doesn't he know that he can't just talk to me about whatever he wants to talk to me about anytime he wants to talk to me? That he's got to go through you. Which, by the way, I had no idea that was a thing. This woman was like the store manager of this shop. Bet she wasn't like the fucking president. You know what I mean? Or a fucking like 5-star general. She's the fucking boss. She's like, you're supposed to be able to talk to him. She's yelling back, you need to talk to him. I don't talk to him. Don't you know the protocol? Talk to him. Find what he wants. Then I'll decide if I want to talk to him. I was like, oh my God. And people told me, but the next day when I came in, people were telling me like they heard the whole thing go down. They were all like, oh my God, like what the hell? Like no, everybody in the store was fucking shocked, and there was customers in the store while she's just losing her mind for no reason. And the little lady picks up the phone. She said, hey, Josh, what did you want? I was like, you know what? Just forget it. Are you sure? Yeah, just forget it. You know what? Whatever. It's. I heard her going, I think I said about it, but I heard her in the background, like, don't even worry about it. Like, forget it. Just forget it. And then after that, like, I don't know why, but things seemed to calm down, and I don't know. Me and Tony got along better after that. Maybe somebody said something to him about it. But yeah, just fucking craziness, man. And so what happens is, like, while I was working there, I get a job at the bank. And I won't name the bank today. But I get a job at the bank, and that's one of the best jobs I ever had. Like, and I'll talk about that one day, and all the fucking bullshit that went on with that too anyway. And so I put in my 2-week notice, and with those two, because I forget how it all worked out. I think I had a start date, right? And after this point, I'm going to work 2 weeks, not just on the weekends. And they're like, oh, okay, yeah, we understand, that's fine. And they're really nice. And I couldn't do both because just the way the schedule was. So after I started at the bank, I was actually working weekends still at the store because they asked me if I would. I said, and I was like, yeah. And they kept putting me on the schedule. I didn't say anything. I was like, yeah, I can actually work this. I was like, and so for like a month or so, I was working both jobs. I was working, I don't know, in the mornings or in the evenings, one of the two, and then Monday through Friday, I was at the bank. So one night, when this all goes down, it was a Sunday night, and this was the night Teresa wrote me up. I forget. Oh my God, I wish I remember what the fuck she wrote me up for. Something really fucking stupid. I don't know. You know what it was? If I'm not mistaken, if I'm not mistaken, I think it was because I didn't take a break when she told me to, because I was in the middle of doing something. And I took a break afterwards. By the way, it did not affect anything negatively at all in the fucking store. But she was just an asshole. That's why I fucking got written up for. So I signed, and I there was something else I had to sign that I think it was about my 2-week notice or whatever, or something like that. And I signed the write-up, and I should have asked for a copy, but then I didn't. But later on, I asked for a copy, and she's like, no, you don't get a copy of that. She's like yelling at me, you don't get a copy of that, which is bullshit. You do. If you get a write-up, I don't know if they legally have to, but you could definitely get a copy of what, actually, I think there might be some legal ramifications. You could see like what was actually said, so you had a record of it for yourself if you want it. And I was a manager before. I knew this. You could do this. You could ask for it, you can get it. Like, it's not fucking different than anywhere else. And she's like flipping out on me, and I just let it go. Like, what? This is so ridiculous. So I let it go. So we're closed. And I'm getting ready to leave, and I say to Teresa, I said, listen, can I just get a copy of that write-up? I don't understand what the big deal is. Just like I'm obligated to get this. I know I am. Can I just have the copy of it? And she goes off on me. Like, she starts yelling at me. Again, and I was just like, I don't understand why you're acting like this. Why can't I get a copy of this? Like, because I'm not giving you one. And why don't you just get out of here? And when she says that, she shoves me. She actually put her hands on me and shoved me and said, get out of here. And I looked at her, I was like, oh my God, did you just hit me? And she starts freaking out because she just realized what she did. She's like, oh my God. And then she's yelling at me, get out of the store, get out of the store. I'm going to tell them all about you. I'm going to HR tomorrow morning. I said, you know what, you can meet me there. I said, I'm sure as hell going down to HR, and I'm telling them what the hell just happened. Oh my God. And she says, no, here's the funny part. It was Tony was the only person working that night, closing. And Tony was taking the trash out. So he's, and he was not in the store for any of this chaos. So I go in the break room to gather my things. Who knows what I brought? Maybe a drink or whatever. Taking some food home with me, whatever it was. And I go in the break room, grab my stuff, and I'm going out the back door because you had to go out the back door to leave. And as I'm opening the door, Tony, and she's still yelling at me, I'm leaving. I'm yelling there, I'm leaving. I open the door, Tony's like, dude, what the hell is going on, man? I was like, she hit me. He's like, what? She hit you? I was like, yes. She's like, get out of here. Tony, don't you talk to him. Don't talk to him. He's like, what the hell is going on? I was like, I don't know, man. I said, you have a good night. I'm fucking done with this. And I left. And he's just like, oh my God. And so when I left the next day, so the next morning, I sure as fuck did. When HR opened it, for whatever time it was, I don't know. I forget what time I had to be at the bank for training, or maybe by that point I was on my regular schedule. I forget even. But I had time to go. At least for whatever reason, I had time to go before work at the bank. To go down to HR, and I explained to HR what happened. Actually, and I did her a favor. I did not tell them that she shoved me, that she put her hands on me. I did not tell them that. And I said I already worked out my 2-week notice, and I was like, I'm just done. Like I'm not going back. I was like, no hard feelings. He's like, no, it's okay. We're sorry all this happened, whatever. I'm just tired of listening to Teresa's mouth, and this was not, and stuff like that. So like a week later or so, like Tony actually called me. I forget how he got my phone number. It was all good, and I haven't talked to him in a long time. But he called me like a couple of days, maybe like a week later, and he's like, "Yo." He's like, all that shit that happened between you and Teresa, and he's like, that caused a whole fucking shitstorm. I don't know. I forget all what happened. He's like, yeah, but they must have gave her the fucking riot act. He's like, because she became a whole new person. Like, she's nice to everybody, all this stuff. And I was like, what? Well, that's good, dude. I'm glad to see she's finally treating people like fucking humans. I'm sorry it took that to fucking make that happen. He's like, oh my God. He's like, yeah, this is fucking crazy. And I never left there on bad terms. I definitely did not, because it never worked out for some reason. But I tried to work there as a second job, like on several times, and I had a couple of interviews because Mallory by that point was gone. Like, she retired sometime in the last 15 years. And I had interviews with the person that replaced her a couple of times after that, and never had a problem. We just couldn't make it work, like with my schedule or whatever. Or they would actually work with it, which is kind of crazy. I worked at a job that would actually work with your second schedule if you had a second job, whatever, because like they did basically pay shit, and the boss knew that, and it wasn't his fault. He was like, but he was cool. Like, he would work around it or whatever. And do his best to help you out, but I don't know. But that's my story. Yeah, I love the job. If I go back there to work, I would. This is not a problem. If it just a bad situation back in 2010. But God bless everybody that worked there. I hope they're all doing well, and even Teresa. But I'm going to pause this and come back and finish the show up. Hang on. Hey, we are back. And just to close the show, I'll give a quick show notes here. Remember, if you're hearing the show, you listen to it, any part of this, man, you know you're loved and appreciated, and you know how to find us. But just in case, we're on all major podcast platforms: Google, Apple, Spotify. Actually, Google doesn't exist anymore, my bad. And so many more. Join the Facebook group at Tales from the Car Podcast, and send an invite. We'll get you in. Contact us at mrpogo1972 at gmail. If you want to donate to the show, you can do for as low as $2 at buymeacoffee.com/mrpogo1972b. And all the links for the stuff will be down in the show notes. You also have a listener survey, and I appreciate if you please fill that out. Shout out to Joe at elitepodcast.net and Kathy and Mary and everybody else who checks in every once in a while about the show. I appreciate you guys. Love yous. And until next week, man, have a good week. Hope you're enjoying the cooler weather if you got that where you are. And you have a good night and peace out. Have a good weekend, too, if I forgot to tell you that. Sorry. I'm tired. It's been a long night. Peace out, though.